Hey everyone, welcome back to the YouTube channel God Will Do It For You. My name is Steven and I hope everybody's had a great week so far. It's Friday, we've made it, the weather's pretty nice out, it's nice and sunny, looks nice and beautiful out here. I'm doing this in the car because my son is loud, so just got to get it done without interruption. But what we're going to be talking about today is delayed but not denied. And just going to kind of give you a synopsis of what I've been going through this past week, where a particular plan I've been planning for, it got delayed due to just needing to get my car taken care of, and the bill was surprisingly really high. So I just had to do what I had to do, but it doesn't mean that what I have planned can't happen. It just means it's delayed, and usually when God delays something, it's for a good reason. So we're going to get right into it. I'm also just going to give some examples of people being delayed in the Bible. So this past week, I've been planning to really do the marketing aspect with my food business, get bags, get the website. I already got containers, do a massive advertisement, give away free samples, things like that to really push this thing. And I had the money together. And I was like, all right, we're going to do this. I'm going to get this stuff ready. But then all of a sudden, my car's thermostat started to bounce. The temperature gauge starts to bounce like this. And, it's one or two things. Either the thermostat's going out or there's a low coolant. It was low coolant. And just happened to look and see that it's leaking from the radiator. I was hoping for a radiator hose leak because that's a pretty simplistic repair. It's not that much. But it ended up being a corner of the radiator. So I was like, great. I already know that's expensive because radiators aren't cheap. Plus the labor, plus to refill them, all this and that. And so, yeah, it ended up costing me a good bit to get the car good to go. The car's good to go, though, so I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful for having the money to be able to get it taken care of. At the time, I was pretty down. I was sad because I was like, I've been planning this. I really want to launch this. Like, come on. Like, why? I was really in my feelings about it because, I really want more, and sometimes the only way you can see that is if you put forth the effort to implement. And so I was ready to do that, but my instinct told me the night before to not order and get everything started until I see exactly what it's going to cost to get the car taken care of. And sure enough, I'm glad I did that and ended up having what I needed for the car, but just not enough to do what I really want to do with my food business. So it made me think about David, Abraham, Joseph, and Moses, and many more in the Bible that had their blessings delayed. Moses was going to, God had to refine him, and he had to wait 40 years. So he was delayed, but he was not denied. Abraham decided to go ahead of God, and him and Sarah, they were like, hey, let's have a baby with our helpmate, and delayed what God had for him, but he did not deny him, and still gave Abraham the promised child. Same thing with David. David had been anointed to be king, but he was delayed actually being king for years, but during that time of him being delayed, he was conquering, he was winning battles, he was getting stronger, getting wiser. It was to the point where he was rallying up a good army behind him until that time came where King Saul and his son was killed during battle. The same thing like Joseph. Joseph got the vision 13 years ahead, and then 13 years later, he finally got the promise. So that I had to think about that because I was like, I'm not denied, and for whatever reason, it's being delayed. It's whatever the reason, God knows. And all that did was just strike, like, okay, I'm going to start really working on this music, because music is something I could work on outside of the food business that's not as costly. You can utilize several different platforms with music in order to get your stuff out there. The main thing with music is it's time consuming. So if you have the time, which now I do because I can't implement what I really want to with the food business at this moment, that's what I'm doing. So it just made me think like, okay, maybe he wants me to put forth effort on this. I've been in prayer about it. I'm still waiting for that confirmation and clarity as far as exactly why it's being delayed, or does he even want me to do it at all? Who knows? But I want to encourage you just that anytime God has made you a promise, or anytime that you've seen that he clearly had a divine connection to make something happen for you, that he allowed this. That's the one thing I keep telling myself and keep telling everybody else. I was like, I tried to get my food business legal a long time, and it happened so quick and easily. And the person that I ran into, that I happened to be sitting right next to, nobody can tell me that was just a coincidence. That was a divine connection. So when I see stuff like that, and I'm like, God, you got this legal, then it doesn't make sense. I'm like, well, why get it legal if it's not going to do anything? Why even waste? Why have me spend all this money to get it legal and nothing's going to come of it? So it just made me realize, like, you know what? Maybe now is not the time just yet. Just yet. Because if I can figure out a way to get this money, to get this launched, I'm going to do it. But I'm also going to just do what I can in my leisure time with the music business as well, to make sure that I am doing all that I can with my time, making sure I stay accountable with these videos, making sure I stay accountable with my music teaching videos, things of that nature. So that way I'm not just sitting idle while waiting, because even though Joseph was waiting, he was still productive in the prison. They weren't worried about him because they could trust him in there. Same thing with Abraham. Abraham was still doing work while he was waiting on that promise child. It wasn't like he was just sitting there doing nothing. We can go on and on about the people in the Bible and how they utilized their time until that promise came to pass, or until that next phase was getting ready to start. And that's just my encouragement to you all, that if you're hoping for something, or you're planning something, and then something happens that you're getting delayed, figure out other things that you can do to utilize your time. If you're like, well, I got nothing else to do, well, refine yourself, do more research into exactly what you're doing, learn the intricacies of things. Always make sure you're utilizing your time. Don't be like, well, I'm going to utilize this time to catch up on some TV shows and this and that. No. Because I promise you, the average person is doing that, and all you have to do is work what I consider overtime, and it's pushing you that much more closer than the person that's next to you. It's not hard to stand out in this day and age, because a lot of people are lazy. A lot of people are complaining about money, which I don't blame them, but they're complaining about money and they don't like their jobs. So the moment people get off of work, they kind of want to do whatever they want with what they have, and they're okay with that. They're content with that. There's nothing wrong with being content with that, but I would not be comfortable with that. There's so much more that life can give you, and God wants us to live abundantly, but we have to put in the work. Faith without work is dead. And so we have to do our part. And yes, there may be sacrificing some of the things that you really want to do, but I'm all about long-term planning. And even though we can't guarantee that we're going to be here long-term, but I at least want to plan for it, just in case God blesses me to see long-term, then you'll be happy that you plan for it. It's easy to live in the moment now and be like, you know what, I could die tomorrow. That is correct. But if you don't, these days are going to go by whether we want them to or not. So it's best to plan now. It's best to put in the intentional work now, because when I listen to a lot of people's stories on how they made it, how they're successful, it's because they decided to put in the work when no one else would. When you think that what you're doing isn't purposeful, re-encourage yourself and say, one day, just maybe, I will see some fruit from my labor and what you're putting in work into, whether that's a nail business, catering business, whatever it is, landscaping, construction, whatever it is, make sure you're doing something. Make sure we're utilizing these talents. Make sure we're utilizing our time. Make sure we're in our Bible. Make sure we are in prayer about things. Make sure we get that clarity from God. And even if you aren't hearing God just yet, or recognizing how he communicates with you, still put in the work, still pray, because he hears the prayers. God is real, y'all. He's real. So don't think that he's not paying attention. You see it too many times, people getting blessed, and I know you're like, dang, this and that. Well, that's because he's real. And it might be that person's time, or whatever the case may be. You know, some people get very wealthy and they lose everything, because sometimes God will give them something so that way they can learn to appreciate. I mean, there's I don't know how God does things, and I'm pretty sure you don't either. But one thing I know is that I can at least do my part, and at that point, I will learn as I go. I'll meet it at the door. You know, if that opportunity comes, at least I can say I am as prepared as I possibly can be within my might. And at that way, anything else that you run into that's a learning curve or things like that, you can at least say, I've been doing something, and you're not in total shock like you're going into a new environment and you just completely lost because you didn't do any homework in the environment. So again, it's almost like me. It's like, you know, I'm wanting to start a food business. I'm wanting to build a franchise. I'm wanting to, you know, create a family business so that way I can leave something to my children if they want it, or whatever the case may be. But at least I can say that, hey, this is for y'all. Music is for me. And so I love music. That's something I love. I love. But again, in order for everything to work, I have to trust God. I have to trust his timing. I have to trust exactly how this is all laid out. So I know this is probably not the way you expected it to go, but this is just, again, another real life scenario of things I'm going through in order to get to that next level. You know, we got to make sure that we're doing our part. We got to make sure we're doing our part. We got to make sure that, you know, we don't stay down in the dumps, because we'll leave that door open for the enemy, or even depression. They kick in, and you just don't have time for that. You know, I was down for about 2, 3, 4 hours, but then I quickly was like, you know what? I could be doing music. I could be doing this. I could be doing this. Yeah, so I'm going to do it. I'm going to be researching and working on thumbnails and focusing on how I can make my outer appearance of my videos stand out. Now with this page, you know, I'm probably gonna do the same thing for a little while. You know, I like doing this little smile, things like that. But just for other purposes of the other YouTube channel that I have and things like that, I want to make sure that I'm doing all that I can, so that way when it starts to actually catch, then I'll understand, one, what it takes to get it to that point. 2, I'll understand what's going on when that's being done, because there's nothing like starting a business and not understanding the different parts of it. But if you actually build that business, you understand the different parts, so that way when you have the ability to delegate those tasks, you'll know what's supposed to be being done, and you'll know when corners are being cut. Because if you don't know what to even do, you won't know when corners are cut. You won't know nothing. So you need to have hands on until you're able to delegate, utilize your time, stay in faith. Sometimes we do get delayed in life, but we're not denied the ability to get ahead. You know, people look at people in school. You know, sometimes people get delayed because they may have a child or children and they need to work. So you might be delayed a degree, but it doesn't mean that you're denied the ability to get a degree. It just means that you may have to wait a little bit to get it. So, I mean, just examples of why we shouldn't give up and why we should always be being proactive towards our lives. You know, watch TV and enjoy vacation when you make it. But while you have the energy, there's people out here that wish they could walk. And there's people out here that wish that they were more intelligent than they are. There's people that wish that they could drive around. There's people that live in poverty that wish they even had the mindset to know what to do to start a business. So if you have that ability, or if you have those abilities, then don't take it for granted. Really be intentional about the things that you're doing out here. And all I can say is, at that point, put your expectations in that Bible and in God, and let's just see what he's going to do. So that's going to be it for this video. Try to keep them short, but I just talk. But again, you all liking the videos, it definitely helps YouTube, whatever YouTube does as far as spreading the awareness of the videos. As far as subscribing, if you would like to do so, definitely do so. I mean, like I said, you'll be able to see the journey of how everything goes with this walk with God, and really just kind of be a witness as to what I'm experiencing, because I'm going to give it to you unfiltered in real time. So like I said, this just happened this past week. I just got the car back yesterday. So again, you know, I'm just trying not to give you the perfect picture. You know, some people will give their testimony, but they don't tell you the details. They just be like, yeah, I hit rock bottom or this and that, but they're not telling you like, no, it was hard. And so that way it can give you a real idea of what you're going to expect. You know, it's going to be hard, but if the end result is you're refined, you're strong in the mind and the spirit, and you're resilient, you're responsible, you'll be able to handle the blessing without squandering it, then in my opinion, it's worth it. It just doesn't feel like it while you're going through it. So that's it, y'all. If there's anything else, like I said, y'all have a great weekend. If I do another video ahead of next Friday, then it just might pop up. Otherwise, like I said, every Friday I put one up. Just a good way for me to let time go by and let things happen, so that way you can understand that I'm not just making stuff up to build encouragement. No, it's like, no, I'm giving you real life scenarios and situations and things that I'm just learning in life myself. It's different out here, so you just want to make sure that you're aware and getting actual real advice, real circumstances. If you're viewing someone's circumstances, just real expectations. You know, you want to make sure you're nice and grounded out here. So I'm not going to talk anymore because I'm looking at the time in the video and just keep skating on by. But you all have a great weekend, and until next time.